Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Sunday morning talks. So before we start, I'd like to invite anyone that would like to know more about this important practice, which is the gospel at home. So if you are not sure what it is, the benefits it can provide, or just would like to talk more about it, our Welcome and Assistance Department can assist you, can help you, providing more information. And if you are interested, you can they can help you to establish this practice in your house. All right, so let's start our talk with a text number 75 from the Living Spring, Francisco Cândido Xavier, by the Spirit Emmanuel, and the title is Management. Give an account of your management. Jesus, Luke chapter 16, versicle 2. In essence, each person is a servant because of his or her endeavor in the work of the Supreme Father, and at the same time a manager because he or she is the holder of enormous potential in the sphere in which he or she toils. A steward of the world is not only the one who becomes gray-headed in working for the common good, in public or private companies, combating 1,000 intrigues in order to fulfill his or her duty. Each intelligence on earth will have to account for the resources that have been entrusted to it. Wealth and authority are not the only values for which we will have to give an account today and tomorrow. The physical body is a sacred temple. Physical health is a treasure. The opportunity to work is a blessing. The chance to serve is a divine bequeathal. The opportunity to learn is a door to freedom. Time is an inestimable patrimony. The home is a gift from heaven. A friend is a benefactor. A beneficial experience is a great achievement. The opportunity to live in harmony with the Lord, our fellow beings in nature, is a glory common to all. Time devoted to helping those less blessed with resources or understanding is precious. Ground to sow, ignorance to be enlightened, and pain to be consoled are appeals that heaven wordlessly sends to the whole world. So, what have you been doing with the invaluable talents that lie within your heart, in your hands, and in your pathway? Look after your own endeavor for the good before the eternal one, because a time will come when the divine power will say to you, give an account of your management. So let us pray. Let us raise our thoughts. Let us connect to God, our Father, to Jesus Christ, our Master, to all our guardian angels, to the spiritual team and the superior spirits from FSS. And first, let us be thankful. Let us be grateful for all the resources, everything that God has entrusted us in this opportunity that has been given to us so we can improve ourselves. Let's be thankful for this house, the second home of love. Thankful for the opportunity that we have, the Spiritist doctrine, with all the knowledge and all the information that can help us to make better use or to make the best use of all the resources that have been given to us. Let's pray that we have one more blessed Sunday, one more blessed morning, one more blessed talk. A talk that can shine light, a talk that can be useful for all the challenges that each one of us might be facing. And hopefully we can leave at 11, at 12, feeling a little bit more light, a little bit more, with a little bit more hope, and hopefully understanding the importance of this virtue, which is our will, and the important role that it plays in our moral development. So be it. Just give me 1 second here. How do I switch again? So
display settings.
Display settings, yeah.
Swap. Oh, you have. Okay.
It doesn't.
We have that. Yeah. So yeah, you're right. So look here. And you go
Extend. Oh, it was extend before, but then. It goes there, but it doesn't. Yeah, that's okay. I think you can. Or maybe it's processing.
Yeah, it's doing that thing.
Oh, okay.
And I'm gonna close program and just
Restart it.
Yeah. It keeps on doing that. It's a little slow.
Some technical glitches. Give me a second. Yeah, perfect. A good old close and open again. All right, so today we will actually remember a little bit about the importance of our will. This is a talk that I did a while ago, and I thought it was important to bring back, maybe see if there's any additional knowledge or any additional reflection that can help us understand on how have we all been directing our willpower to guide our improvement efforts as the immortal spirit that we are. I like to bring Leon Denis is one immortal spirit that when he was alive, he had done a lot of he has a lot of content, a lot of reflections, and a lot of knowledge regarding will. And there is a very powerful sentence that Leon Denis brings to us when he says that the will or willpower is a sovereign power and a faculty of the soul. A faculty, this important skill, this important resource that every one of us, with no exception whatsoever, has it and has the ability to use it to the good and to use it to the good of ourselves and to the good of our society. So let's see some of the characteristics of the will, how the will is somehow organized within our soul, how the will, what's the role of the will, what happens when we leave the will parked, or we leave the will, or we don't encourage the will to take the reins and to take to guide some of our, as we will learn, some of our passions. What happens when it's not properly allocated or properly in the proper place? So this talk is based on Our Will, reflections by Artur Valadares. It is The Will That Is Missing, reflections by Rosandro. Thought and Life, which is one of my favorite books by the Spirit Emmanuel, by Sheikh Xavier, by the Spirit Emmanuel. And at the end, I'd like to read a beautiful passage from Leon Denis, from the book, that's my free translation, The Problem of Being in Destiny, or Destiny, em português, O Problema do Ser, do Destino e da Dor. Some initial reflections are, how do I understand the role of the will in trying to carry out the efforts for my internal transformation? What is the role that the will plays? Do I know it? Is it an important primary, secondary, tertiary role? Have I used my willpower, all my will, to carry out the internal change efforts? Am I aware of the importance, and am I aware how that will help me with my change efforts? And what obstacles do I encounter to make some of the desired changes to improve myself as an immortal spirit? So let's start Arthur, when he starts some of his reflections about the will and the willpower, he brings a very simple and a very interesting consideration about the Spirit's book. He mentions, of course, the almost 1,000 questions there. Each one of us will react differently. All those questions are really important and provides the necessary knowledge that the Spiritist doctrine provides us, so we can move forward in our evolution. But he mentions that there are some specific questions, and we know, for example, question 115, they are very important. They are discerned. They are kind of the backbones of the book. However, there are some of them that when we read, it shakes us. When we read the answer from the spirits, that answer moves us out of our comfort zone. Sometimes it shakes us in a positive way. Say, "Oh my God, I totally missed this," or "I've been doing something a little bit different. I need to, now that I have that knowledge, I can maybe take a better course of action." And some of the times it's like, "Oh, that is the answer that I was hoping, or that was missing. It was a gap that maybe I didn't understand before, and that answer gives me the encouragement necessary to take the actions that I'm planning, or I want to take in our lives." And he brings how important is, and as you know, knowledge, right? The role of knowledge when we read all the information, not only from the Spirit's book, but also with all the 5 books that is the Spiritist doctrine, that knowledge that opens our horizons, that knowledge that helps us move forward with our own development. And in order to give even a more illustrative piece of this out of comfort zone, those questions that really shakes us, I want to bring one that talks really about the will, the power of the will, and is question 909. The question is, are an individual's own efforts enough to vanquish or to eliminate or to transform his or her bad tendencies? And it seems when I was watching Arthur and then I watched Rosandro, it seems that they talk to each other, because Rosandro makes a similar quote when he first read this question. Without knowing the answer, Rosandro was saying, "Oh, I bet that the answer is, oh, it is a lot of work. You humans, you incarnated on earth, will go through so many things. And you will suffer, and you will go through a lot of work to fulfill whatever goal that you are trying to." But then when we read the answer, the Spirit says, yes, our own efforts is enough. And it's a very small effort that is often all that is needed so we can transform our bad tendencies. And the Spirit continues. It is the will. It is the will that is missing. It is quite astounding how few of us, make any serious effort. It's like, boom, like, that's not what I was expecting. Understandably, as we are in this world of trials and expiations, as we go through our trials and expiations, it seems there is a lot happening. And we don't need to go that far with what is happening with the world currently with this pandemic. It seems like how dare the Spirit say that it's just a small effort, right? So the Spirit here with this answer makes us think. Sometimes some of us might have different reactions. Some people or some of us might say, oh, that's bothering me. Not sure how is just the will when I'm going through so much. Or on the other side, that might stimulate us and say, oh, maybe that is the piece that was missing. Maybe I'm perceiving, or maybe I'm missing that link. I'm missing that part of the importance of this will, so I can go through whatever each one of us have to go through in our lives. So here the Spirits put this strong focus on the will and how the will plays this important part into, as the Spirit saying, small efforts. And here we can even understand why Leon Denis said that about the strong or the sovereign power. That's the sovereign power that helps us to move forward. So it's important that to understand that it's only understanding the importance of the will that we will be able to develop it. And also everything that we do will just become a consequence of us putting our will in the right place, and Emmanuel will, with his brilliance, describes how the will and the importance of the will in a very structured and in our own language, how the will is structured and what's the importance of the will in our life. And as we are going to see in shortly in the book Thought and Life, the will is this. There are 30 chapters in that book. The will is the second chapter, so there is that importance. First, Emmanuel starts saying about our mind and our thoughts, and then after that is straight up what is the role of the will, so we can focus and we can understand how we can place the will in the right place. So let's see how Emmanuel describes the will. So in the book Thought and Life, Emmanuel kind of translates for us, putting some common language that in our brain is organized somehow like an office, somehow like a company that most of us might all be familiar with some architecture or some hierarchy that we have in some companies. So Emmanuel describes that in our company, in our mind, in our soul, there are four departments. And he starts with the first department, what he's calling the department of desire. So what is the function and what is the purpose of the department of desire? Is to give purpose, is to give us aspiration for us to achieve, for us to be stimulated to do whatever activity that we would like to do. It's the department of desire that helps us project that future state, project that future that we would like to accomplish. And as we know, all of us will have different ideas of that future. All of us have different experience and all of us have different aspirations. And Arthur mentions here that there is a passage when Jesus said, whatever is your treasure, whatever your treasure is, it's where your heart will be. So whatever you are desiring, whatever, and the treasure here is not in the material sense, but is in that good aspiration. If your treasure is in the good place, your heart will be in the good place. It's that department of desire that binds our heart to our goal, to our future aspiration. Then there is another department, which is the department of intelligence. So the department of intelligence is where is all our evolutionary, our cultural assets, everything that we gain, our body functions. As I learn to breathe, as I learn to eat, as I learn to walk. It's every skill, every knowledge that we have accomplished in our evolutionary process. It's all the skills that I need to use to work on my desires, to work towards my goals and accomplish that, whatever that future state is for every one of us. Third is the department of imagination, is where we bring our sensitivity, some of our feelings, and some of our ideas. It's where when we are desiring, when we are imagining, when we are thinking about what I want for my future, is where that department of imagination is. It takes that abstraction of our thoughts to connect, to try to envision, to try to imagine what I want for myself. It's a department of imagination that helps us to create whatever transformation we are hoping for ourselves. And last but not least, there is the department of memory, is where everything is archived. It's kind of our records and information management, our library, everything that we acquired in our intelligence, everything we acquired or we envision in our imagination, it's all there, stored. All the records of our experience, not only in this life, but other lives that define and some of the intelligence of the skills that we have, it's all stored there so we can make ourselves function. So to make ourselves functions. So, but here I just mentioned about those 4 departments. What happens with the will? Why? Where would the will be placed? Is that in the same horizontal line? Is just similar to other departments? Or there is a more important role for the will? And Emmanuel says that he calls the cabinet of the will. Like this hierarchy where I have the departments at the bottom, the cabinet of the will, it's imperative that the cabinet of the will is there guiding, monitoring, and controlling all the pieces, all the activities of the other departments. He mentions that's so important that we put that will up top because it's a fundamental condition. The will, and it's our duty to manage the performance, if I'm using business terms, of all the activities that is happening with the other departments. Is this will that will shine light, that will enlighten all the activities happening. It's that vigilant manager that supervises all the sectors of our mental activities. Why that? Why is that necessary? As you can see, if there's no kind of guidance, alignment, and coordination, the department of desire might want to say, I just want to do everything that I want. The passions that we are going to learn a little shortly will take over. And we won't be guided to the good. It won't be guided to the direction that we are invited all to take. Same way, the Department of Intelligence might want to fight with the other departments, and who is going to take control? That is the importance that the cabinet of the will ensures that every department, every mental activity can work towards the same ideal. What is the same ideal? Is this evolution of our society and of each one of us and all the human creatures and immortal spirits that we have here. Emmanuel brings, and I'm going to read because I try to translate to the best that I could, but he mentions that the cabinet of the will has this lucidity, and here he talks about the discernment. It's only the cabinet of the will that has the discernment, the lucidity to identify what is most appropriate for us. It's kind of the ruler. It's kind of their guidance, that mentor for us, so we can take the efforts that will generate the best results, not only for Luis as incarnated here, but for my immortal spirit. And he says that the cabinet of the will is the luminous area to the reason. It's that reason that filter, that guidance that will help each of the departments to make the right choices. And if the department makes the right choices, we are the most benefit. We are making good choices. But what happens? Some of the times, and I must say, must talk just about me. Some of the times our will might be a little bit weak or a little bit fragile. So what happens if it is? And he gives specific examples. What happens if the will is a little bit fragile and the department of desire takes over? He mentioned that sometimes when we are driven by passions or we are in this endeavor to conquer whatever we want, it might be power, and we don't care about our neighbor, or we don't care about anyone, we might commit some mistakes. And he mentions that some mistakes can incur debt, require centuries of suffering and restitution. André Luiz mentions in Astral City that it takes many years to repair a mistake that can happen in a few seconds, because that department of desire takes over and takes the will. When the department of intelligence ends up taking over, we know there's so many smart people that due to the lack of orientation, instead of using that intelligence to the collective good, the choice ended up being to just benefit just myself, just for my own benefit and selfishness, to do something that will just have positive results just for myself. With the department of imagination, we may create monsters of darkness. As we know, our thought is the mirror of our lives. Sometimes when you go into somehow that spiral where we connect to not so good thoughts or not so positive energies, we go into that lower vibration instead of rising and connecting our thoughts to superior spirits and superior energy. So the importance that we monitor, orai e vigiai, watch and pray. And last but not least, when the memory takes over or it's not taking good care, we might fall into deplorable negligence. We know with our cell phones, with all the technology that we have, we are somehow trained or guided for not to think, because everything's so easy. Information is all there. So it's important that we practice our memory, we practice our memory by study, by acquiring knowledge that can help us move forward, so we don't ended up with that memory not being used for things that will do good for ourselves. So here is kind of an overview of the importance of the cabinet of the will. This analogy of how those departments work. How important is each one of those departments? And how important it is that we place the will at the right place, at the right spot. So all the efforts and activities within those departments are guided and are driven to the right direction. So we mentioned a little bit about, when you talk about desire, we talk about intelligence, imagination, and so on, about the passions. And we know, we study a lot about sometimes, some of my efforts were kind of more driven to a pleasure of a passion that just gives me pleasure. But let's understand and let's see what does the Spirit's doctrine says about passions, and what's the relationship between will and passion. Question 907. There is a question that asks about this. So, as our passions are rooted in nature, it's within us. It's part of us. Are they bad in themselves? So every single passion, is it all bad? We just need to eliminate or transform or don't use it? And the Spirit says, no. It is only their abuse or excess that is bad. The principle of all passions has been given to human beings for their own good. And these passions may spur them to accomplish great things. It is only their abuse that does harm. So here we see importance of knowledge. We know that the passion is not bad. The passion actually propels us, gives us the power, the horsepower to move us forward and to help us with our achievement. However, if we put that passion in each of those departments that we just talked, and there's no one controlling, they are at their own discretion, at their own will, that is the challenge. That is when the Spirit, as per the instructions of the Spirits, is where one department will take one passion and do whatever they want, and then we go into that abuse, into that excess. That causes harm to us. So it is important to have that leadership in the mind. It's the leadership role of the will. The forces of our passions that can lead us to exaggeration, imbalance, and ultimately unhappiness. However, if we are able to guide it with the will, to monitor and control, they are the resources. They are the forces that will help us with our achievements. And actually, after this question 908, there is a question about management of that will. And the Spirit says that those passions, if they are not well managed, is like a horse that is positive and useful when under control, but very dangerous when they are untamed. So if we just leave the horses do whatever they want, they can cause some damage and some not positive things in our lives. So it's not about eliminating and shoving it down, but it's about guiding, channeling in a way that meets our spiritual development. And what is the best example that Arthur uses that we can see that transformation? Where the horses were not well guided, and there was a point in time that the horses became guided. It's Paul of Tarsus. What happens when he was before he had the encounter of God with Jesus? Sorry. So that apostle, he used all that horse, all that energy, thinking he was giving the right direction, but actually he committed a lot of bad things, a lot of mistakes. However, that transformation, that milestone, when he encounters Christ and he sees that light, he was able to really takes control of his existence. He strengthened his will. And in any point in time, he didn't question or he didn't spend time just laboring. It's like, oh, I wish I had done that. I wish I had thought that before. No, he took action. He lived in that presence to take all the strength, all the will to orient himself. And use that same forces, his same former passions to build something good. And look at the example that he was able to give to us. And Arthur actually mentions another, we have the apostle as an example, but he uses nature. So let's take an example of water. So let's see water not control. If we have, like we had here in 2013, the flood, a lot of water not control, we had the flood, and we caused there was a lot of damage to the city. However, let's think about water control when you have a water dam. So a water dam, a water controlled with a purpose and guided can provide energy, and can provide energy to our society. So a simple example of water uncontrolled and control, we can see positives and negatives, and how the direction, discipline, and control, similar to our efforts. If our efforts are controlled and our efforts are constant in the right direction, we will have positive impacts. And just to use one more example, I love this picture that I use a lot when we talk about confidence. It's like us, right? We are that boat within this big ocean that is Earth. Each one of us have our own boats that have the strengths, that has the weaknesses. However, as we navigate in this ocean, there will be a lot of wind. This wind is our driving force, right? However, if we let the wind without any of our control, without us doing any of our effort, that wind can lead our boat to a rock, right? So the importance of the will as the helm so we can navigate this infinite ocean and we can achieve that future result. The importance that we take the helm, which is the leme, take the helm with our will to direct our boat in this ocean of vicissitude, of trials, expiations, and challenges, so we can navigate, go through it to the right direction. Is that overnight? Is that in 2 years? 3, 4, 5, 15? No. It's about for each one of us to identify what is possible, what is according to my own strength to do it. And it's about exercising it, not about perfecting it. We have the eternity to do everything that we are required to do. Divine mercy will give us all the opportunities that we will need to navigate. We might just navigate 1 yard, 150 kilometers this life, and then we'll continue to the next one. And how many will be required, God knows. But it's important for us to do what we can at this point. And what about the exercise of the will? So I just mentioned, it's not about perfecting it. It's about exercising. It's about putting some effort towards it. So Joanna mentions that the will is, therefore, the engine that drives human feelings and aspirations towards the conquest of the infinite, being always greater the more it is exercised. And we know, right? Sometimes we have just a little bit of that desire or that will, but we just don't want to continue. Or we just, okay, I'll just leave it for tomorrow. So here Joana and Rosandro make some important reflections here that every little step, every little effort and piece that we do is important and will have benefits in the longer term. We might not feel today, tomorrow, 2 days, a week, or 2, but it's important that we start. And Rosandro brings a very super easy example for us to think, what are some of the desires that we have that are overshadowing a bigger will to achieve bigger things? What are some of the desires that gives me short-term pleasures that takes over long-term will to achieve greater things? So he gives an example. Let's say I want to improve my health. So I want to do some exercise. So let's imagine January here in Calgary doing exercise in the morning. It's not pretty, right? Minus 20, minus 25. If I have to go for a run or even to go to the gym, and I look at outside, look at my phone and see that temperature, I might prefer to stay at home, because staying at home gives me that short term, right now, pleasure, right? So the desire of staying at home is greater than myself or I doing something for my health. However, it's important that we challenge ourselves. What are some of if that is the desire that is overshadowing that bigger picture, what can I do to improve or to encourage, to enlarge, to make that will to change my health priority over the desire of just that small pleasure? It's a simple example, but we can translate. Sometimes we might have some situations in our lives that we know I'm not doing the right thing right now because I prefer that short-term pleasure in contrary to the bigger picture. So Rosandro makes a very important invitation. How can we identify in my life, in your life, in all of us, some strong wills, some strong desires that are preventing me to accomplish other bigger personal changes? What are those? Using the example of the exercise and the cold. Is there anything within my immortal spirit that I'm leaving for the desire of pleasure instead of the strong will to make a change? And Joana continues saying how important is step by step, unexpressive in the first attempts. Yeah, I might want to go to the gym in 2 days, but then I don't see the results. Of course, I won't change, even in this case, my whole health, going to the gym or doing whatever exercise in 2 days. But it soon becomes the command of the expanding possibilities, enriching the being with the imperishable values of evolution. So the will turn into possibility, all the possibilities of change in our evolutionary process. We know, as we read in all the books, we know that we don't go backwards. Everything that we learned is ours. We own. However, it's up to us to take the step forward or just park our car and stand still here and don't do any progress. So it's important every small step. And another reflection that Rosandro makes is put in perspective. Sometimes we are dealing with situation A. Situation A is very complex. And as we identify that we need to change, we try to tackle the entire situation. It's like you're trying to eat the whole elephant. But maybe there are some pieces, a small piece that I can make the change see the results, and encourage myself to continue doing, instead of tackling and solving the issue, whatever it is, by just being too hard on ourselves and change that overnight. Maybe tackle one piece, do one small thing, keep doing, and then we do another small thing. And sooner rather than later, we'll see all the good results and the positive change that we were able to make. Because if we try to tackle the whole elephant, we even lose focus. We start doing a piece here, and then say, I'm not seeing any results here. I'm going to do another piece here, and then I go back, and we keep going back and forth and not committing and not focusing in one step or one part that we think we are able to accomplish. And what about the will and faith? What is the relationship between will and faith? The Gospel according to Spiritism have some reflections about it. And in chapter 19, item 10, in the Gospel according to Spiritism, the Spirit said, I repeat, faith is both human and divine. If all incarnates could be persuaded of the force which they carry within themselves, and if they wished to place their will at the service of this force, they would be capable of producing these so-called miracles that are nothing more than the development of a human faculty. So sometimes we think that, to solve this, only a miracle. However, the spirits are saying here, where are we placing our will? At what service? At what purpose? And here, Arthur always makes a stronger point to align our thoughts, align our actions to the actions of God. How are we aligning our will with the divine will? How are we aligning our own strength of changing, of being better, to the divine strength? We are all sons of gods. We are all being given everything that are required. How am I connecting? And Arthur mentions how close and how intimate is our, and each one of us, relationship with the divine essence. How are we aligning our thought with the divine thought? So faith and will, they awaken our conscious to the greatest possibilities, the greater duties and rights that we have to grow. And Arthur also mentioned, I think there is a passage saying the faith that moved the mountains, right? Is that really the mountains, like the physical mountain that was moved? No, the mountains are that analogy about some of the old habits, the crystallized habits, thought patterns, and crystallizing patterns and thought emotions that we have been practicing. Is that kind of roadmap that we built in our minds, and it's so entrenched there that it's hard for us to change that habit. So with the faith and the will, if we become ourselves aware, we are able to see, that pattern, might need to revisit that one and change a little bit here or a little bit there to get better results. So will, faith, moving those mountains, our own mountains that each one of us have. And in the Gospel according to Spiritism, there's always, but where do I start? Where do I go? What is that? What does that mean? And the Gospel says it's in practicing the good. The good just for our neighbor? No, the good within ourselves and the good with our neighbors. There's no better exercise in strengthening our will other than doing the good. The more that I perform, the more that I put efforts towards that, the more I rise, the better I become to do better for myself, to strengthen my own soul, my own immortal spirit. And Emmanuel is very, I don't want to say harsh, but he's very clear. There's no way to get results without practicing. There's no way of getting anything or achieving anything without doing the exercises and putting the efforts that each one of us are required. And Emmanuel says that only the will is strong enough to sustain the harmony of our own spirit. So look at how important it is for us to really understand that power that all of us have. And in a book called Encontro Marcado, Emmanuel says, and I even voted this free market of ideas. So let us analyze what we call our state of mind. As I was talking about harmony, how do we reach or how do we strive for balance? So tension, doubt, anguish, irritation, optimism, courage, confidence, or joy are the result of our preference in the free market of ideas. Since the invisible thread of our connections with good or evil essentially counts for us. So right now, here, there's a market of ideas. In our family, there's a market of ideas. In one group of friends, there's a market of ideas. In our work, there's a market of ideas. In the world, there is gajillions market of ideas. But what does that mean for us is, which ideas am I getting? Which ideas am I taking for myself? Or are the others' ideas are dictating what I do? Are the others' ideas the one that is managing my life, managing my activities? We're all, every time we're being bombarded with those ideas. But yeah, Luis, okay, but what do I do? How do I know if that's a good idea, a bad idea, or someone else's idea is guiding me? And Emmanuel says, our will is a turner. Our will is the one that will, like this radio here, that device, when we find the station, is our will that will find the station that we want to be. What type of music that we want to listen. Although now that I think the radio might be outdated, right? It's kind of, what's the playlist on Spotify that would you like to listen to, right? But it's up to us to use our will to choose those ideas, to choose the suggestions. Is that only from the incarnated? We know that not only the incarnated, the discarnated also have lots of influence. Emmanuel says sometimes the discarnated, I won't be able to say exactly, but the discarnated do more influence than we can even imagine in our life. So the importance for us to understand that and tune in to the right stations or to the right playlists, if you will. And I want to finish. I want to read this passage about will from Léon Denis, which I think it's beautiful, and I need to read this book in totality to understand more. But I want to leave this text about will, which is, I think it's very deep. So Léon Denis says, the will is the greatest of all powers. It is, in its action, comparable to the magnet. The will to live, to develop life in us, attracts us to new vital resources. Oh, look at here, attraction in the market. This is the secret of the law of evolution. The will can act with intensity on the fluidic body, activate its vibrations, in its way appropriate to even a higher mode of sensations, prepared for a higher degree of existence. The principle of the evolution is not in the matter. It is in the will, whose action extends both to the invisible order of things and to the visible and material order. Again, Léon Denis aligned with Emmanuel, the incarnated and discarnated influences that we have. If man knew the extent of the resources that germinate within him or her, he or she might be dazzled And instead of thinking he or she is weak and fearing the future, he or she would understand its strength. He or she would feel that him or herself can create that future. By what means will we set the internal powers in motion and guide them towards a high ideal? By will. The persistent and tenacious use of this sovereign faculty will allow us to change our nature, to overcome all obstacles, to dominate matter, disease, and death. Isn't it comforting and beautiful to be able to say, I am a human being whose will and intelligence are free. I made myself unconsciously through the ages. I slowly built up my individuality and freedom, and now I know the greatest in strength that is in me. I will rely on them. I will not let a single doubt overwhelm them for even an instant, and using them with the help of God and my brothers and sisters, my brothers in space, I will rise above all difficulties. I will overcome evil in me. I will let go of everything that chains me to material things to rise up to happy worlds. My will calls me forward, always forward, more and more knowledge, more life, divine life, and with it I will conquer the plenitude of my existence. I will build for myself a better, more radiant and loving personality. I left the inferior state of the ignorant being forever, unaware of its value and power. I assert myself in the independence and dignity of my conscience, and I reach out to all my brothers, saying to them, awake from your heavy sleep. Tear the material veil that surrounds you. Learn to know yourself, to know the powers of your soul, and to use them. All the voices from nature, all the voices from space cry out to you. Get up and march. Hurry to conquer your destiny. So, just want to leave the importance of will, the importance of us to make better and better mental connections. The future, we know, is beautiful. It's good and it's loving. And divine mercy will give us everything that is required to move our mountains. And sometimes when we think that we'll leave the cabinet, just think about hope. I'm trying to study even more hope. And hope is that virtue, is that peace that even if today we might fail, we might make any mistakes, that hope that is just one point in time in a bigger scheme. That hope that we have, all of us, have a bigger and better future. Thank you.
Thank you, Luis. So Nina here kind of mentioned a couple things. When you were talking about faith, she reminded us of when Jesus in Mark chapter 9, he says, anything is possible for someone who has faith, right? She said it's important for us to remember this advice from Jesus and keep making our efforts with goodwill. And then she says the Leon Denis book is The Potencies of the Soul. Taste of Balm.
I don't know that one.
Yeah. And then Malcolm was asking about you used the word vault to describe those departments. One of them was the vault that kept the records.
Yeah.
Do you know the word in Portuguese for that by any chance? I'm trying to read here. Department of Imaginação. Oh, that's Department of Memory.
É a memória, né? É onde fica arquivado. É o arquivo, arquivo de todas as experiências, habilidades e conquistas nossas.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Awesome. All right. So let us close and pray. So continuing connected to God, to Jesus Christ, and all the superior spirits that guided us to get here and to reflect on the importance of the will in our life. Let's be thankful again, always expressing our eternal gratitude for this opportunity to learn, for this opportunity to use the knowledge provided by spirits, superior spirits, to improve ourselves and to shine some light in our way. Maybe we had some misconceptions. Maybe we were not even aware of the importance of the will, of the importance of faith, of the importance of connecting and having our thoughts elevated and connected to the divine thought, to the divine essence, to the divine strength that every one of us have inside of us, and every one of us is capable and able to achieve whatever each one of us would like to achieve. Let's remind ourselves of understanding in that creating that future state that we think about, not as us right now incarnated, but as our mortal spirits. What are we doing? What are the will? What are the desires that we have that have benefits to that spirit, to that eternal spirit? Let's ask that we have a blessed end of Sunday, a blessed week, that we keep in serenity, that we keep within the divine essence of love, of justice and charity, and that tomorrow we can be here again, learning a little bit more and acquiring that knowledge that is so important to our moral evolution. So be it.